Hi 4K families, Miss Kimberly coming at you here from my dining room, which is where I will most likely be in a lot of the videos here when I get some downtime kind of at night here. Just kind of want to give you an overview of 4K. So first of all, welcome. Some of you kind of know the gist and the schedule of how 4K works, and some of you are fresh and brand new, so I kind of want to give you guys all that same advantage and just kind of go ahead and lay it out for you. So every single day when your kiddos get dropped off with me in the classroom, we have breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning until about 8:30. And then from 8:30 until about 9 o'clock, they have what's called free play, just kind of gets their wiggles out, gets them moving around the classroom, that kind of stuff. Starting at 9 o'clock, we have our morning meeting, which takes us about to 9:15, 15 minutes or so. During morning meeting, we talk about the calendar, the numbers, the month, the year, those kind of things. We also are learning the Pledge of Allegiance this year in 4K. They will learn how to stand with their hand over their heart, and every child will get the advantage of holding the American flag one day or another. And we will start out just by learning just very basics. We learn like the first couple lines, and then we go on throughout the week. So by Christmas time, your child should know the Pledge of Allegiance. Following all of that, we talk about the theme of the day. I always on the whiteboard stand up and talk about a tally chart. Tally charts are very important for 4K. What a tally chart is I will write a question. So this week we're learning all about me. So on the tally chart I say, let's name some things that we all have in common. So I'll write on a tally chart, eyes, nose, clothes, shoes. And then I'll say, well, raise your hand if you have shoes on today. Some kids do and some kids don't. Some of them take them off at the door and some of them leave them on. Raise your hand if you have clothes on today. Raise your hand if you have two eyes. Raise your hand if you have blue eyes. Things like that kind of gets them thinking and registering. Later on in the year, these tally charts will become more of a question and a decision making. What it will eventually lead into is help them to make better decisions faster. So do you like pizza or mac and cheese? They have to make that decision faster. What that helps is it helps a child not to look next to their friend and say, well, what do you like? And kind of copy their answer. It makes them think on the spot and say, well, I like pizza and I like macaroni. Those kinds of things just helps them develop those decision-making skills kind of on the spur of the moment, things like that. So that'll lead up to what our tally charts mean in the end. Following that, we go and we sit at the tables and we do what's called a learning activity. This week's learning activity, or today's I should say, is the all about me. So we sat down and together we do it as a group. We go step by step. Let's try to write your name. Let's try to draw a self-portrait. How old are you? Can you write that number? A lot of the times I will stand up at the marker board and I will say, okay, this is what the number 6 looks like. Copy that 6 onto your paper. Things like that. So I'm constantly showing them exactly what they need to know, how to go about it, things like that. There will be a video that I will have coming out here soon that will show you exactly how our morning meeting goes, our learning activities, those kind of things. It's a lengthy one. It's about 15 minutes long, so it's more like at nighttime when you have nothing to do, kind of sit and watch this video, and then you get an insight as to what your kids are learning and how we do things in the classroom. Following the learning activity here, we have art activities. Today's art activity was that they had to create themselves, and they could be as creative as they wanted. They had markers, colored pencils, crayons, they had yarn for hair if they wanted, they had googly eyes, they had tons of different things that they could choose from, tissue paper, felt paper, things like that. And then we cut them out and then we'll hang them up on the wall as well. This also helps them think like, oh, what color is my hair? What color are my eyes? Do I smile a lot or am I sad? Things like that we'll be talking about, which leads us into our next theme next week, which is feelings and emotions. So we talk a lot about those kind of things. Following our art activity, we use a bathroom break, come on back to the classroom, and then we have snack. After snack time, they do a free choice of like books or puzzles, some kind of quiet activities. They can do mind games. We have magnet games. We have things like that they can kind of get engaged with, lacing, beads, those kind of things. After all that is done, then we go outside. After we come back in from outside, it is another bathroom break, and then we sit down and we have lunch, and that kind of wraps up our 4K. Throughout our 4K day, we will have checkpoints. Your kid knows that. We learned about them today. What those are is it's a piece of paper that's inside a laminated sheet, and right now it just has a picture of their first initial on there. So if, for instance, for Colin, the letter C is right at the top there, and then what they do is they take a special teacher marker, those expo markers, And then they get a magic eraser. So it's like a little cloth that only erases their initial. It can't erase any of their friends, just theirs. And then they take that piece of paper and they have to use a checkpoint. So then Colin would write the letter C all the way across his paper and then write it on the next line and the next line. There's 3 lines to write that on. Throughout now until Christmas, we're going to keep adding letters onto their name. And then eventually by the end of the year, they'll have their first name and their last name. We don't do middle names yet in 4K. That's more of a kindergarten step, but we will touch on it, like your first name, what is it? What is your middle name? We won't actually write their middle name, but what is your middle name? And then their last name, which they will write as well. We teach it as in, for Colin's name, capital C, lowercase O-L-I-N. They will not know all of the rest of the lowercase letters until after Christmas. From now until Christmas time, they're learning letters in the capital form. Once Christmas hits, then we learn letters in the lowercase form. And so it'll go like big C, little c. What begins with C, and then they have to repeat that. We also have an alphabet book that we will go through every single day that teaches them. So like today we learned about the letter T. And T for us, for kids to say it, they go like this with their fingers, and they bend them, and they go t, 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 letter T, 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 t. And they have to repeat that. And then we'll go on to other letters. The letter A, they form an apple and go for apple, letter A. Things like that. So that's how we're learning our letters and what they sound like. We don't teach them how to write all of the letters of the alphabet yet. That kind of comes in January. We want them to hear the sound, know what it makes, be able to repeat it before they actually can write it. Speaking of writing, something that we're working on this week is learning how to hold our pencil correctly, up, down, over, and across. So we write lines like this. And that also helps with our checkpoints throughout the day. We do those 3 times a day, so then we do it in the morning meeting where they'll write their first letter of their name. And then we do it again at snack time. When they're done with their snack, they go and they check out for the snack, and then we do it again right before lunch. They check in so they can eat lunch. So they sit down, they do their letters. When their letters are done, they hang them up on the wall, and then they can go and they can eat some lunch. That's pretty much the gist of our 4K day. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. The email that I'm sending this out with is ldndcommunication, COMMUNICATION @gmail.com. That is the easiest way to get a hold of myself, to get a hold of Rachel. If you have any questions about 4K, do not hesitate to bring them up to me and ask. I will try to send out a video like this once a week. Might stagger a little bit depending on what we're learning and what we're doing. Thank you so much, you guys, and have a good night. Thanks. Bye-bye.